Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number 4010-7-601. This is a single acting spring hinge is what this is. The 4010 series are very common spring hinges that you see. I see them in New York City every time I'm there, in the hotels that are several decades old. Which is lots of them naturally. And the 4010 is a tried and true, trusted, durable, long-lasting piece of hardware. Now people probably who buy these are likely replacing hinges already. I'm not aware of doing these hinges on new installations because they are really not template pattern compliant. Well, let's take a closer look at this hinge and see exactly what's going on. So 4010 is the series. That means that it is a single acting spring hinge that is a non-template pattern. These staggered or zigzag holes, that's what a 4010 is. Very large barrel. Okay, hinges like this from Bommer are really capable of getting heavy, large doors closed. I see these on stairwell doors in those hotels in New York City, and those are epic doors. They're always very heavy. They're occasionally very oversized. They're occasionally unusual thickness, at least by today's standards. And they usually have a lot of decorations and maybe applied moldings and plants and things of that nature. Panel sort of design. So you can understand why purchasing such a hinge to keep that door functioning is what they want to do, because replacing the door is certainly going to cause a code impact. Replacing it with something modern would be an issue. Maybe the availability of that door that was built in 1940 is just not available anymore at all, of course. So that's why you're looking at an unusual hinge like this. Now the -7 is the size. This hinge is going to be available in a lot of different sizes, but what the size really relates to is the hinge's ability to swing a door given a weight and a width. Okay, so if you've got a light door, you don't use a 7-inch hinge, even though you could. It's just really overkill. After that is going to be the finish. The 601 in this case is a bright black japanned finish. And let's start back at the beginning of the part number. So the 4010, when it's a 7-inch size hinge, you're going to be able to handle a door with two spring hinges up to 130 pounds, and 3 spring hinges would give you 175 pound capacity. And this is the door width is where these hinges kind of stand apart from their smaller sister products, their LB series from Bommer. 2 of these hinges are going to get you a 42-inch door. You add 3 of these hinges, according to Bommer, you're going to be able to close a 52-inch door. So very wide doors. The 7-inch, and there is a link below this video to a document called Template, is just simply a reference to the height of the leaf. Okay, and that's where that comes into play. But a 7-inch hinge also is intended for a 2-inch thick door. So be mindful if you have, and I don't suppose there'd be anything preventing you, from forcing this onto a thinner door, but you've got to look and see where the screw holes are. Given an 1 3/4 door thickness, you could force that to fit. There's no question. But a hinge like this is really intended for a minimum door thickness of 2-inch. Okay. So be mindful. You're not going to run into 7-inch often. 6-inch, sure, because that's 1 3/4 thick range. So that link to the template will show you the dimensional properties of everything regarding the hinge, and I would encourage you to check the dimensional properties of the template to your existing hinge prior to ordering it, just to make sure that everything matches. What you're taking off is what you're replacing it with. If you're doing a replacement. If you're doing a new installation, well, that document is there to give you that data on what you're dealing with dimensionally. Those screw holes, the locations specifically are called out, and when you're looking at that template, you are looking at it with the hinge open, face open towards you. Okay, just like that. And that is a 4010. Now, to talk about the rest of the 4010 series would be germane to this conversation because we really want to understand what the limits are of a 4010, the smallest to the largest. And I'm pulling up the manufacturer's catalog, which I'll direct you to at the end of this video where to find it. But you'll see a 4010 hinge in the catalog, and what's handy is they have a hinge selection guide for maximum door size, and that table is actually linked to down below. Everything from 3-inch size to a 7-inch size on a 4010. You can do the 6-inch and the 7-inch as a CL version, a decorative tip, and that's referred to there as well. You can also do these as a reverse model. Should you want the doors to open, that would work as well. You could do a reverse version where they flip the spring around. So that table hinge selection for maximum door size gives you an idea of where you can use, or where you do use, your 3-inch hinge, your 6-inch hinge, and your 7-inch hinge. Now a 4020 is available as an 8-inch tall hinge when you do have a heavy door. And the only difference between the 4020 and the 4010 is that the leaf on the 4020 is a standard 4.5-inch template, like what you could use on a regular or modern steel door or a wood door. Okay, so that chart is there for you to use, and you can see where the 7-inch comes into play. Then there's a link to the installation instructions, but before we get there, let's exhaust the rest of the extended description. Easily adjustable spring tension, we'll talk about that in a moment. The pivot point does not align with standard full mortise hinges. That means you can't mix this hinge with another hinge. You have to have all 4010s and 4010-7, in fact, on the same door. Either two spring hinges, 3 spring hinges, or more, whatever it is. This will not mix and match with other spring hinges because the vertical axis of pivoting is not compatible with other spring hinges. This is called non-template. These holes don't match anything other than a 4020. This is a steel-based hinge, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. Again, for 2-inch minimum door thickness, the weights that we discussed earlier. Now, regarding the screws, screws are included. This client specified all machine screws, and that's what the client's getting, all machine screws. Very unusual application to have all machine screws for this. Absolutely feel free to include in the comments section when adding to cart what screws you want. If you're doing all wood, specify all wood screws required, AWS, or AMS, all metal screws required, or half and half, meaning one leaf is one type of screw, the other leaf is the other type of screw, half wood, half metal, that sort of scenario. Okay, that exhausts the extended description, except that the finish, the 601, that means bright black japanned. If you're looking for a black hinge, that's it. It's a 601. They can do this hinge in any finish, really, on steel, so be mindful of that. Your brasses, your bronze, your chromes, prime coat, oil rubbed, zinc, satin polished, things of that nature. Being Bommer, they can really do any finish. If you want satin nickel, they can do satin nickel. Absolutely. It'll just be a steel base on the material itself. Now, do be mindful that this hinge is not UL rated. Okay? Which is very likely important that you know that it's not UL rated. Okay. Now, the link below this video to the installation, and what that means is it's technically not permissible. Not technically, it's not permissible to use on a door that requires the assembly to carry that UL rating. So be mindful of that. If you need something that's UL rated, you need a different hinge, reach out to us, we'll help you solve that problem. So the link to the installation instructions tell us that step 1, install the hinges to the door and frame. Physically hang the door and frame. Get everything hung where it needs to go. Okay, get the door hanging in the frame. This device here is called the tension collar. you can install the tension collar towards the top or towards the bottom. You just want it going all in the same direction when you install it. I like to install it with the tension collar up, and when you do so, to set the tension, for every order you'll get at least one tension rod, and for every hinge you'll get one tension pin. This client's order has 2 hinges on it, so he's getting 2 tension pins. It's okay that there's only one tension rod. You only need one. Insert the tension rod into one of those holes when the tension collar is pointed towards the top and rotate it clockwise. And as you do so, you reveal new additional holes. Into one of those new holes, and you're setting tension as you crank that, you insert the tension pin into one of the new holes. You will do that with the door in the closed position, and when you're standing on the pull side, and you'll have complete access to that tension collar. Okay, so it's going to look just like this from the pull side. 3 holes of tension is recommended, but you might need more. If you're going to open that door to 180 degrees, be mindful that the 5 holes maximum tension recommended should really be just 4. If you're going to go to 90 degree, you can go up to 5 holes. That's a lot of tension on that spring. If you hear a squeaking or a binding, stop, back it off. That's the hinge literally contorting over itself, and you don't want that to happen. In an installation where the hinges are existing and you do start to hear a creaking sound, that's probably just surface oxidation on the spring, and it is permissible for you to lubricate at the hinge joints. I would mask off your area, and I would get in there with a type of lubricant that's not going to be liquid based. Okay, something that will allow you to not contaminate the surrounding area. A graphite material would probably be pretty good. Something lubricant based will just strip that off, really, like WD-40. The balance of the installation instructions we have covered. There's nothing new actually there to go over in the installation instructions. So installing it is easy. Hang the door, start to set the tension, test. You'll want to use the hinges middle and bottom as the primary closers on the door. The spring at the top will be less effective because that top spring is actually holding or carrying 70% of the door's weight. So let the middle and bottom spring do most of the work, and then bring in, set the tension there, have some tension on the top hinge, but not as much if your situation allows that to not be the case. Okay. So we've discussed what the hinge is, the sizes available, the finishes available, how to install it, where it's used, etc. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Bommer products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. The name Bommer is synonymous with spring hinges, and they're most notorious for their double-acting series of spring hinges. They're 3029. And there's the Bommer logo right on their hinge, right at the tip of my finger. Right above that logo says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I, to represent them. If you have any questions on the 4010-7-601 hinge or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you very much.